Good morning. How's everybody doing? It's a beautiful day. It really is. Excuse me. My talk is about setting goals. And in my life, goal setting had always been a huge priority. It was something that move this down a little. Something that I've always set for myself, and I realized I had done it wrong when the most difficult thing in life happened to me. Now, to take you back, played Division I sports, played for the 11th ranked team in the nation. I was feeling good about myself. I graduated college. I had set all these goals, and I said, you know, I can hit cruise control finally. Cruise control, you know, I earned this. This is going to be good. The real world had hit, and it's time to do all this other stuff. Well, what I realized a couple months after I graduation, just started my new job, is that I suddenly became sick. And by sick, I was a little bit bigger than I was now. All right. I lost 60 pounds. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I'd just have to get up and run and be sick. And I didn't understand what was happening to me. And at the same time as this is going on, my goal setting disappeared. It completely, there was no goals left. I didn't know what to do. And so I make this is March. I go all the way to Thanksgiving just dealing with this. And it's crazy to think that someone would think, hey, I'm just going to deal with this. But in my life, I figure, you know, I can persevere. Whoa, it's a terrible picture. Believe it or not, I'm 150 pounds in that picture. I was on 45 pills a day just to get through the day. It was, I couldn't explain, just my meals in the morning were medicines. And I make it to Thanksgiving, and they finally give me a diagnosis, and they say, well, this is how we're going to treat it. They gave me a medicine, but in all that time, an infection had set over top. That no matter what they gave me, it wasn't going to work. And I had, you know, a couple things I did during the day. I tried to run. I make it to January, and I can't run anymore. Now, everything that I've known in my life, the goal setting that I've done, has now disappeared. I go to the doctor. I was with my mom. I go, Doc, I can't run. I go 100 yards, and I start screaming. He checks me out, you know, gives me the look over. The face he looked, I should have said something was wrong. But he goes, don't worry, Brian, it's neuropathy. You're taking all this medicine. It'll get better. Writes a script for a new medicine. I go off. Within 12 hours of taking the medicine, I'm in the hospital. Now, this was the start of a cycle that I would go into the hospital for a week. I'd go home for a week. Go to the hospital for a week. Now, I'm just trying to start my career. And my career, now, I can't even go to work. Doctor tells me, hey, why don't you shut it down for the next 6 months or so. Hopefully we'll catch you back up in September. All right. And I'm looking, and I have no one to talk to. You know, everybody's working. There's no motivation to get up. And my goals that were there have now disappeared entirely. I'm not even in the mind frame to even think about a goal. And I thought this was the worst. And it is far from the worst. I make it to Easter, and Easter was the start of the most horrendous 2 months of my life. I wake up at Easter, or Saturday night, Sunday morning of Easter, and I'm shaking uncontrollably. I'm sweating. It looks like somebody has doused me, poured a hose across my bed. There's tears coming out of my eyes that are literally streams. And I can't find help. After 5 hours, it's now 6 o'clock in the morning, I finally get my hand sturdy enough to dial. Now, hindsight, I figure I would probably dial 911. It would probably be a smart move at this point. No, I'd call my dad. My dad's the person that helps me when I need it. And so I called. Dad, something's wrong. He's like, listen, I just got a call from you at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll be right over. Go to the emergency room. They don't even let me sit there to get processed. They just push me through. And in 15 seconds of doing a diagnostic test, just a simple ultrasound, they found 5 blood clots right above my ankle. They had all collected, and it was strangling all the circulation in my leg. Doctor goes, all right, time to get to work, clean this up. All right, so the first surgery they give me, I call it pipe cleaners. What they do is they have you immobile for 3 days, and they put these wires through your system to try to unclog the clots. Doesn't work. I'm immobile for 3 days. And you guys can get all the things that happen when you're immobile. No, it's not working. Then they go, well, a stent. And stents are, pretty common. We'll put that in. Hopefully it clears out the blood. Stent doesn't work. So the same day, they actually remove a vein in my leg and put it down here to circumvent where the clots are. It doesn't work either. And as this is going on, I'm not even sleeping. I'm in so much pain that in order to be up on the bed, I have my other leg on a chair next to it. It was so painful that I couldn't even walk. I'm hopping around. I'd go to my sister's graduation, hopping. I looked disastrous. And I knew the next part of the conversation that was coming, and it's a Monday night. It's May 17th. It's 2005. And the doctor goes, Brian, how much of your leg do you want to lose? None, man. I'm good keeping how it is. But I knew this was coming. And he looks at my leg, and he goes, we're cutting some off. And I go, can you give me a couple minutes? Well, I call one person. I call who I consider a brother, a close friend of mine. He was getting married in 3 weeks. And I said, buddy, I promise you I'll walk down the aisle at that wedding. Promise you. Hung up the phone. 24 hours, I wake up. I'm missing better half of my right leg. First day I walked was at his wedding. But I didn't reach my goal. And this is the part that I had always set goals for myself by myself. I'm going to do it by myself, and I'm going to do it the best way I know how, bar none. When I get to the wedding, I'm using crutches. And after the wedding, I go home and I reflect back and I go, I failed him. I failed him because I was setting a goal to walk and I used crutches. I failed. It was the most upset I had ever been. Even through losing my leg, I was distraught. Now for the next couple weeks, I'm home by myself again, not going to work. There's not much going on, and I'm left to my own device. My friends when I see them very sparingly, they look at me different, like trying to gauge, that's it, I've lost it. I'm mentally just distraught. I get to the point where I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have any part of this life. I make one phone call. I call my dad. Good-looking guy. The poor guy's trying to work. And I go, Dad, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. Why me? And he goes, Brian, that's the wrong question to ask. Of all the people you know, who would you rather this happen to? I go, out of anybody in the world, I'll take this for everybody. And he goes, now what are you going to do about it? Hit me like a baseball bat. What am I going to do about it? And so I walk up to kind of hop up to a counter and I start writing lists of goals. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I failed at this one goal. How are these going to be any different? I started accomplishing a few of them. But still, that I didn't walk down the aisle at that wedding was destroying me. I couldn't get away from it. It was agonizing. I get to down the list over the next course of a month. I played in a lacrosse game 2 days later, or 2 months later. Still failed it. Why? Because I didn't do it the best way I knew how to do it. I couldn't be here. And I got down the list, and I get to one that really meant something to me. I have to find a Special Olympic event. You know, I like being an athlete. It means something to me. And I start going online, and I see that there's a story about an Army veteran who happens to live close to where I was in Baltimore. He lost his leg and decided playing hockey was going to be an important thing for him. You know what? I like this hockey stuff. Kind of throwing the idea around with some friends. My buddy goes, "Hey, Brian, I got some extra hockey stuff. Why don't you come out with us sometime? I'll go with you. Be a good time." I go out and skate with these guys the first time. My buddy, mind you, is 35 years old, from Toronto. Hockey's in his blood. At the end of the game, he turns to me and goes, "Brian, some of the things that happened out there, I've never seen before in my life. I could have killed somebody. It was so bad." And so I still had that goal in mind that I wanted to play on this Team USA. So I dedicated myself. I kept my focus forward on what I could do to make this happen. So the time comes. I get a tryout. You know, all excited. It's a tryout. It's time to show them what I'm made of. I'm an alternate. It's as close as I could get to that goal. I go home and I have a conversation again with my friend from his wedding. And I go, "Man, all of these goals that I set them and I failed. I have failed at these." He goes, "Brian, you didn't fail at any of them. You might think of it this way, but I see it as you succeeding." And when he said that to me, it released me of that weight that was hanging there. I finally could cut the anchor and move on from that goal. It actually was hit. The goals that I had set, I wanted to do them my way. But what I needed was the information from the people who were stakeholders in my goals. My friends, my family. When I played in that lacrosse game, my friends came up to me, and afterwards I was really upset about it. They said, "You hit the goal. You played in the game. If you want to keep playing, you're going to get better. But if that's the goal, you hit it." So I started to take that advice into the hockey rink. I go, I got to start listening to the people who are stakeholders in this. And I started to find the first time I actually listened, information was coming in this year and it was staying here, as opposed to just pushing out the other side. And as I stayed on the ice, listening to the people, giving me advice, giving me lessons, seeing how things were progressing, critiquing the way I was doing things, I went into my second tryout. It's 2 years later now, and it was a much better venue for the World Games. The amputee hockey team every 2 years plays World Games against other countries. First one was in Montreal. I can drive myself to Montreal. That's why I tell myself now to validate why I didn't make the team. But this one was going to be in Finland. There's not many people that are going to say, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" "I went to Finland to play hockey." So I go, this is it. I realized that whole training camp, what I had done, now I could hit a goal. I carried the weight of this goal. I took the input of the people around me to help me get there. And at that training camp, I scored a goal. I said I was going to have the puck, but I forgot it on my desk at home. That puck, when I got back to the locker room, I cried. I cried for probably a half an hour, and guys were looking at me like, "What's wrong with this guy?" But what that puck represented wasn't the goal. It was that I accomplished something with my team. I called my buddy Matt, whose wedding it was. I called the man who got me into hockey, my good friend from Toronto, and I called my dad. And when I called them, I go, this was the best effort I could do. I'm proud. They were vested in it. They understood what it meant to be in that team. When I told them I was an alternate, all right, man, it doesn't make that much of a difference to them. But when you keep them vested, you keep them interested, it becomes extremely important, the success that comes. They're there with you in it. So I go home from Dallas. I'm like, you know, this felt pretty good. And the phone call came. Hey, Brian, pack your stuff. You're going to Finland. And I realized I had done it. And now why this became so important to me is that this illness I wasn't done with. For the next 8 years, I had to battle this illness. It has taken an organ. Some of my chest looks like a road map. But I was able to accomplish all the goals I had set and continue that path because what transpired here. I kept people invested. I listened to their, and I did everything possible that I could to accomplish that goal. Now, I think this applies pretty pertinent to what we do here. In fact, this goal setting from help with people even got me to where I am today. That what we do is we set goals. And look around you. When you get back to the office, when you're sitting there at Starbucks, are the people there helping you to achieve these goals? Because when you do, you share in the victories, you can move on, and you can achieve more because everybody is there with you. So I want to thank you. I really appreciate the time, and I hope you get a chance to enjoy the day after the rest of these great speakers. So have a great one.